here, and I'm sitting with Scott Shimberg from Hyde Park Builders. Scott, recently, we just talked in our last segment about you being featured on Extreme Home Makeover. I guess it's Extreme Makeover Home Edition.
Home Edition, yeah. That's right.
That's a mouthful. So, and you were featured recently with this new process of building a home. But recently, you've taken your company as well, Hyde Park Builders, and you've actually made a complete shift in how you're going to bring these homes to market. And as I've also seen, you're actually calling the company, we should announce, Scott Shimberg Homes.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's a big change after all these years.
Well, it's a change, but it's also not a change. It's
okay.
I'm who I always was. I'm just from a branding standpoint, we're kind of looking at the overall branding to be Scott Shimberg Homes, and Hyde Park Builders is still delivering the same custom homes, the licensed contractor on the homes as always.
Was it just time to make the change because of the change in the brand strategy to kind of?
I think it's always good to look at your brand and how to re-energize it. We're going through the last few years in the real estate industry. I think everyone's looking for new answers and new opportunities, and what better way than to start some rebranding?
Being a branding guy, I certainly get it. I mean,
right.
It's the evolution of a brand, really, is what
Sure,
we're talking
exactly.
about, and how you've been able to move the ball forward here. I want to talk about now, for everyone out there, in building these homes, because it impacts all of us. This is really incredible process that you guys are doing here, and what you're undertaking here with Scott Shimberg Homes. Let's talk about the changes for the consumer. And I want to talk about expectations. There's a certain expectation when you go to build a home. We have all had that expectation when we start the process of going through that process, and what we want at the very end when we walk in the door, again, as you say. Now, as I remember, it can take about, oh man, I mean, a year or better.
Right.
Obviously, it could be longer than that. It could be 14, 15, 16 months. It depends how many custom tiles or custom woodworks, or how much of that you fall into. So it can take quite a bit of time to make this happen. Tell me, let's talk about some of the changes for the consumer in this process
Malcolm,
of climate controlled.
I think the best way to describe this is we're changing the process along. Think of it as the road, the pathway. And the end of the path is the final home that you move into, your family up. It's my satisfied customer that's moving into their home. The difference is the journey to get to that end point is redefined. And the reason this has changed a lot is we've developed technology with, you look at computer-aided design, CAD, AutoCAD. You have what you can do on the computer, or what is done on the computer, is greatly enhancing that process or that journey, so that you can literally design and build virtual before you push the button to start building it on site. So what this process is doing is it's taking that technology and it's allowing you to spend a lot more time up front in a virtual setting before you start construction. And then construction
is that what's, excuse me, Scott, is that what's done here? I didn't realize, you talk about the virtual time now and the design elements.
Right.
Is that the process?
Absolutely.
It is.
You have to look at a home like any other. Let's say you're the car manufacturer designing the new car. Right. You see the pictures that they're turning the model around, and they're in 3D form. It's all about perfecting it before you start building it.
Okay.
And you're doing the same thing in the home building process.
Okay.
You're making sure that everything that the customer expects and wants in that home is designed out so that when the construction process starts, there's no surprises. Right. No surprises to the customer at the end.
I like that.
And what we're doing is the construction, it's moving part of the construction in a controlled environment, and handling that before it ever arrives on the job site. Okay.
So if somebody wants to see that house, in a normal procedure, you'd go out to the job site. What would happen here?
Well, we would take them to the factory where it's being built.
To the actual job
site. Absolutely. And you could walk through that kitchen as it's being constructed, but it's got a roof over it, which is not the roof of the house, but the roof of the structure. That there's no weather that's ever affecting this house as it's under construction.
All right. In reading up on this a little bit, I've seen some comments now about the fact that the actual manufacturer's using up to like 30% more materials, and the green building's a big deal.
Right.
And I mean, I'm getting all these great sound bites. I mean, as far as I want to have some of that.
Sure.
Or, that sounds really great. Tell me more about that. How does this technology?
Well, at the end of the day, we're building a house with the same materials as you would build it on site. It's the same lumber, it's the same nails, it's the same screws and drywall, but there's more of it, because when you're designing and engineering something that's going to withstand transportation to the job site, in this case to the Tampa Bay region, it's about 5 hours of commuting time from that environment to the job site. And then you're lifting up each section with a crane to put it down on the foundation.
Gotcha.
So that house has to be constructed much more soundly than it would if it was simply a site-built home.
Okay. Makes sense. That's quite logical, actually. I mean, think about it. So the construction itself has got to be
absolutely
well put
and
together.
that becomes then an inherent benefit to the customer, because they've got, I believe, a better built home under that method.
And you really believe that?
I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't believe it.
No, I mean, it's a big deal.
I look at this, the
Big deal.
analogy I would give someone, Malcolm, is if I was their heart surgeon and they came to me to do heart surgery,
Right.
and I say there's a procedure that
Good
we're going to
example.
do on this that's less evasive, it's going to have a quicker cure
That's a good
time.
example.
And that's what you need to do. You need to be ahead of the curve to deliver to your customer, whatever the industry is, in the most innovative way you can.
It's what I call a brink thinking moment, Scott. It's a brink thinking moment for sure. Let's talk about this technology a little more now. How can we expect this technology to shape the construction sector? The construction represents about 4% of the GDP in this country. How do you see, this is sort of now just, I mean, it's, all right, they've been building, this process has been out there for a while.
Absolutely,
It didn't
sure.
start yesterday.
No.
But it seems to be catching on now, and you're sensing that. So tell me a little bit more.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not just me. If you look at some of the soothsayers of the future, Warren Buffett just acquired one of the largest companies in the country to do this, Clayton Homes. There's a lot of buzz about this. The thing that's going to impact, I believe, the home building industry is, look at the Florida region, Malcolm. When did housing start? It started really after World War II. After the boom to Florida construction was post-1950s. Right. So you have a huge inventory of homes that are 50 to 70 years old in this state now. What we're looking at with development, it doesn't have to be developing more and more new subdivisions further and further out with more strain on infrastructure. There can be a smarter growth pattern, which is redeveloping in existing neighborhoods that, frankly, those neighborhoods are ready for new houses.
Is that going to be a large percentage of the business ahead for you, do you think?
I think it's always hard to predict what will be the business, but I think that's a natural segment that
they call that infill, Scott.
Infill development is something that is you're going to see more and more of, because if there is a way that someone can build in an area and not commute half hour, 45 minutes, or an hour to their job, they're going to look at those opportunities.
Okay, so it's a whole mind shift of what we're doing here. It's the same house that you've always delivered, and you feel the expectations are still there. People want what they want at the end of the day. And so it's this mind shift that you're asking people to really take a look at and look at it seriously. I assume you'll walk people through this process and make it easy for folks. How do they find out more? What's the website that we go to?
ScottShimberg.com.
Okay.
You'll find out. We're continually adding more content to it, because it's an exciting time that we're delivering an exciting message.
This is probably the biggest change you've made in 2.5 decades.
That's right.
Yeah. So what do you see ahead just for Scott Shimberg Homes in our last few seconds?
I see that if we can deliver that home to a customer in less time and better built, and certainly a green home, and everyone's expecting that going forward, that I've got a satisfied customer.
Right, right. So a greenhouse without going broke.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what we're all looking for. Anyways, we've been speaking with Scott Shimberg from used to be Hyde Park Builders, now Scott Shimberg Homes. This is Malcolm Out Loud. Remember, get involved, get loud.